everyone, and good morning. This is Benjamin Lindsay here, managing editor at Backstage. We are sitting with Margaret Cho today to talk about her latest indie film, FaithBased. She also has a new Netflix animated feature coming out later this month called Over the Moon. And also, she's just a comedy legend with plenty to talk about. So I'm really excited to sit with her for a little bit here, and thank you for joining us. I see the audience growing as we speak. Let me just pull her in here and we can get this show on the road. Margaret, I see you, so I'm adding you now and we'll go from there. Hey, Margaret, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm Ben here at Backstage. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
It's always funny connecting for the first time ever in this kind of this kind of situation just by screen. But
I know.
yeah, I'm glad we could make the time. Yeah.
Yes.
First of all, how have you been holding up these last few months? Speaking of connecting by screens.
I'm really okay. You know, it's interesting because it's strange. I definitely really miss doing stand-up comedy. It's something that I really love doing, and it's hard to kind of go without it. It's the longest I have gone without doing live shows for 35 years. So it's weird. It's really strange. But I know that it's a time where it's really about staying safe and being really conscious of other people. And so I'm so glad that we have social media and we have the internet. I mean, what if this happened in the 90s?
Right.
We would be faxing like crazy.
Yeah.
It would be so terrible.
Yeah.
We would have no streaming services. I mean, we would be Netflixing by mail, or even if we had that, it would be so awful. Or like going to we would be risking COVID to go to Blockbuster Video. Like, it would be so sad.
Absolutely.
So,
or just daytime network TV. It wouldn't be nearly as good. As good as we have it now.
So we're much better off.
Well, glad to see that you're taking care of yourself, at least. Are you finding ways to kind of feed that creative well and do comedy in other ways, or?
Yes. Right now, I'm actually shooting a movie in New York. So I'm here in not in New York City. I'm in New York State. I'm shooting a movie with Charles Bush, who's really funny, and so we're making a movie here. And it's really interesting. So I'm doing this, and then also promoting some other things around this time. I just hosted the Folsom Street Fair online last week, which is the largest BDSM festival in the world, which is incredible.
Yeah.
So I'm from San Francisco, so it's a very, very big deal for me, and I really am excited about that. So that was incredible. And so I've been doing a lot of stuff online that has been really amazing, and that's really awesome. So that kind of stuff I think is really beautiful, and I'm glad that we can remain together. And so, you know, Summer Pride hasn't been the same, but it's also brought us together in a lot of unexpected ways.
Absolutely. Another reason to be grateful that we're not in the 90s right now.
So grateful, so grateful.
Yeah, not bad. Well, we're here to chat about FaithBased and Over the Moon. You have that coming out later this month as well. Such a fun indie film and really a great satire on kind of the Christian film industry. Just for our audience today, could you tell us about it and what first attracted you to it?
Well, it's such a funny script, and it's really about these two guys who realize that there's a huge market in making movies for the Christian film market, which I didn't know existed either. I didn't know that there was such a thing, but it's true. There's like a whole kind of like body of films and all sorts of there's Christian rock, there's Christian everything. I mean, so that there's this built-in audience for this kind of medium, and I love that. I think that's really hilarious. And so they set out to make this kind of science fiction movie about this, and so I play this film executive that works for a Christian-based Netflix style streaming service. And so I think it's really great, and it's really fun. And I love the spirit of independent film. And I think it's such a funny movie about movie making from a different perspective, but it's still got that soul of like movies like The Player, which are really, I think it's so great. And so I really laughed making it. It was so fun to make. And, you know, I'm really from independent film. Like, one of my oldest friends is Quentin Tarantino. So it's like a very important part of who I am and who I come from. And so I'm really thrilled to be a part of it.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, you mentioned that you love the spirit of independent film. What about that style of filmmaking especially kind of checks your boxes?
I think it's really about the, I think it's like the autonomy that our auteurs have. You know, it's like all about how we can tell our stories with this independence and with a kind of like just the authorship, you know, like we can do our own thing and we can be in control of it. And I love that, and how our style comes through and our filmmaking and our voice comes through, and it becomes our own, whether that's Sophia Coppola comes from that, or it's Wes Anderson, and then their styles, which become really their signature. You know, at first they're like, what are these people doing? And then it becomes like a sort of a gold standard on how to be. You know, when Wes Anderson made Bottle Rocket, people were like, what is this? Why? And then they're, you know, then it's like, you know, Royal Tenenbaums, it's like, oh my God, I want to be this guy.
Yeah.
You know, and now it's like everybody can't wait till the next film's out, you know. So it's sort of like authorship in independent film is like really the soul of filmmaking, and it's really where we should all aspire to making movies.
I love that. I love that. And is it an independent film that you're working on right now, Upstate?
Yes, and it's actually about filmmaking itself. So it's a really exciting project, and I'm really excited to be working with Charles Bush, and it's really, really fun. So I think it's going to be great.
What is filming like right now? I mean, what are the kind of protocols, parameters?
It's intense.
Yeah.
I've been working on a couple of different projects. There was one that I was in, another one that I was working on. I was in a bubble that I had to do several COVID tests for. That that one's not out yet, but I was in a crazy bubble. Like, so you have to be in, like, right now I haven't started filming this movie with Charles yet. I'm in the bubble before I go in the movie.
Got it.
So
Okay.
I'm in like the bubble. You have to be in quarantine like a couple of weeks before, and have the test before, and then just wait and then be cleared to go onto set.
Right.
So it's like people are very, very careful, which I think is really important. And I'm very conscious of that care, because, you know, you want everybody to be very safe, and, you know, you want to protect the other cast members and the crew, because everybody's, you know, kind of really taking their lives in their hands to work, which is really, it's really, really, you have to be very careful. So I'm really careful myself.
Yeah, absolutely. And then in your bubble, this is when you can do press. So it
Yes,
works. Press for
I
your
love it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, back to faith-based for a moment, not to get too general here, but I do feel like it checks your boxes as a creator just by leaning into comedy about religion. You've always leaned into things like religion and sexuality and race. Can you pinpoint the moment in where you kind of drew that sensibility as a comedian to learn to lean into those subjects?
Well, I think that it's really important to be able to separate kind of race from morality and art and values. And I think when you can't separate values from religion, and then you get really like messed up stuff like social conservatism.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's when you get like moral majority, crazy messed up stuff like that. You know, you have to be able to separate values and morality and money, and like you have to value things differently, because then you just get crazy about like social conservatism. That's like the thing that I want to steer like clear from, you know. Like I think that everything has to be valued differently, and You have to think about things independently, and so it's really important to not like get so like fenced in with these like social constructs of like you know so I just never want to be something like I can't even like Trump.
Yeah.
I just never want to be like a Trump or a Trump supporter, that kind of mentality, or like some sort of like that sort of idea that we sort of think that there's something all amiss. I mean, there's like these issues that I will always want to be sort of like a really independent thinker, and I think that comes from being queer. It comes from being from San Francisco. It comes from being like very much like a very liberal at heart thinker. But I always want to sort of try to weigh things individually.
Yeah, I love that. And to be able to bring that sensibility to your work is rewarding, I imagine.
Yeah. So you want to try to do that, but it's important to try, and it's important to, but it's, I think, to weigh it all out. But it's also coming from growing up in entertainment, because I've been involved in theater and comedy and entertainment for most of my adult life. And so to watch the changes, to watch like the entertainment industry really shift in the way, especially they viewed queerness
Mm-hmm.
at like the way that it's totally shifted. It's really incredible. And how it's viewed, gender has totally shifted,
Mm-hmm.
and race. So it's really amazing to see the evolution. And so I'm really grateful to see the changes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I don't believe that I'm hyperbolizing when I say that it's thanks to art, in part thanks to artists like you who have been out there writing autobiographically, telling their stories. I mean, representation matters in that sense to move in a way.
Yes.
In terms of
Thank
writing
you.
autobiographically, you kind of do it all between writing, stand-up, acting, producing. But for a lot of artists out there who want to start creating their own work are told to write what they know, write graphically. Do you have any advice
Yes.
for audience today on how to do that?
Yes, I think it's really important, and thank you. But yes, I think it's really important to just write your stories and to not be afraid to tell your truth, and to really just come from the heart, and to really just speak your mind, and to find your voice, and to just really let it come forth. And I think that your instincts are really right all along, that
Mm-hmm.
often people are going to try to stifle that. People are often afraid of the truth, and so they'll often try to stifle that. And so just to be aware of when people try to stop you from doing things, because
Yeah,
often it's like if there are people trying to stop you, you're probably right.
yeah, right. Yeah, and you can see those roadblocks coming. So
Yes,
you gotta know
exactly.
how to
Yes.
the way. Yeah, exactly. Well, I did want to ask about Over the Moon because that's coming up later this month. It seems like
Yes.
a really special project to be a part of, just considering the fact that it's an animated feature for Netflix featuring an exclusively Asian and Asian American voice acting cast.
Yes.
So how did it come about for you? Why did you want to get involved? What can you tell us about it?
Well, a couple of years ago, I went in for a brain trust, which I had never been involved in, with Pearl Studios, which is the animation studio that was the studio that made the film. And they were showing me the drawings, and played me some of the original score of the movie when I was in Shanghai.
Mhm.
And so it was so beautiful and so remarkable. And so later on, I ended up being cast in the movie, and so I did the voices, and it was just so. I played two different characters. I play the ant, and then I play a chicken in it, which is really fun. But it's a really beautiful movie, and the animation is just gorgeous, and it's just an amazing film, and it's great to be in the company of all of our friends, all of our wonderful Asian American talent, and also just the songs are so great, and it's this great tale. I think it's a really spectacular production. It's really like our Lion King, which I love.
Yeah, I love that. I love framing it that way. And I mean, in terms of voice acting, does that flex a different muscle than other things that you do on screen? Is it much like
Yeah.
is it different?
Yeah, it's really different. I mean, it's really it's actually pretty robust. Like it takes a lot to express yourself vocally because you're having to put all of it into your voice and kind of project all of it right there sonically. So you know, as a singer, I've done a lot of it in kind of like my voice anyway, as like just a singing in a singing capacity, but just to do it in a character as a voice, it's a lot harder. So I think
Mm,
it's a very different kind of thing. And it's a little newer for me, but I really enjoy it. It's really fun.
yeah, yeah, I bet, I bet. Well, as a final question for you, then I'll let you on your way. Our audience today are fans of yours, but also Backstage are the working actors and creators of the world. Do you have any? Well, I like to cap these interviews just asking what piece of advice you would give your younger self. So when you're first getting your start in this industry, what's something you've learned along the way that you wish you knew back then?
Well, I wish I knew not to worry so much. Just don't worry. Don't worry that everything's going to be fine. And just to spend the time doing, you know, everything that like is a sort of a motion forward. So every project or everything that you do each day is sort of an investment in the next day. So everything pays off in the next day. So it's all sort of like everything you put away is sort of an investment in your tomorrow. And that's a really good thought. So everything that's positive will pay back in dividends the next time, whatever that is. So if it's positive, it'll be more positive the next day.
Mm-hmm. I think that those are great words to leave our audience with today.
Yeah.
Margaret, it's been great to have your ear for a moment. Thanks for making the time. And
Thank you.
a new feature, Faith-Based, is headed to VOD, and then Over the Moon is coming out on Netflix later this month. But stay well. It was nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
good fun. Bye-bye.
Bye.